Well, afternoon to you. This is Jen Peachman, Vice President of Member Engagement here at the Mortgage Collaborative. The time is officially 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so we're going to go ahead and kick things off for today's webinar. First, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Today, I'm happy to have my friends at NCS joining us and hosting today's webinar. Before I introduce my friends over at NCS, wanted to run through a few housekeeping items as folks are getting fully connected here today. First off, you will notice there are a couple of ways that you'll need to connect to the audio portion of today's call. You can either dial into the conference line or you can connect through your computer speakers. Lines are going to be muted today. We do have a lot of people joining, a lot of folks joining us here for today's webinar, and we want to make sure that everyone can hear things clearly. So you'll be able to hear us, but we won't be able to hear any maybe background noise that might be in your area. We are recording today's webinar, and we'll get you a copy of the materials as well. So you can share them within your teams, or if you had to miss anything or have to leave a little bit early, we'll make sure that we answer all the questions that you have. Because the lines are muted today, there's a couple of ways that you can submit any questions, comments, or feedback. There's a Q&A window right in the upper right-hand corner of the WebEx where you can enter any questions. Those are going to go directly to myself and Lisa at NCS. There is also a chat window where you can drop your questions to the host, the Mortgage Collaborative, and I'm happy to verbalize on your behalf. So, before I go ahead and introduce Lisa over at NCS, wanted to first off welcome all the members of the Mortgage Collaborative that are on today's call. And those of you who are joining us today that might be not too familiar with the Mortgage Collaborative, just wanted to take a quick minute and provide you a quick overview about the Mortgage Collaborative and benefits of membership. So the Mortgage Collaborative is a growing network of national members and preferred partners, a cooperative designed to support the mortgage industry. We built an excellent platform, and best of all, it was built by lenders for our lender members. We are the nation's only independent cooperative network in the mortgage industry with a pretty straightforward and simple mission. We're only focused on the growth and profitability of independent mortgage bankers and community lenders. CMC, we're providing financial, strategic, educational, and networking value for our members in a number of different ways and for an incredibly low cost of annual membership. So right now, our network boasts over 140 lender members, collectively originating over $200 billion annually, which really allowed us to expand our vendor partnerships, which include over 65 best-in-class preferred partners. And yes, has been a longtime member of the Mortgage Collaborative, and with preferred partners like NCS that we can collaborate with to offer educational webinars just like this one. The membership with CMC only continues to expand. So without further ado, I want to introduce you today's presenter at NCS. Lisa Binkley is joining us today. She is the Senior Vice President of Business Development over at NCS. She has over 20 years of combined experience in mortgage loan originations, underwriting, risk management, quality assurance, and fraud identification and implementation. She's an integral leader offering proven success in large-scale business optimization, including developing and implementing forward-thinking projects, programs, and processes to achieve continued company growth and profits. She has been honored for multiple industry leadership awards, including Housing Wire's Women of Influence in Mortgage. She's a frequent speaker and writer on loan quality best practices and fraud prevention within the industry. And if you're not familiar with our friends over at NCS, we love them dearly. NCS is a full-service consumer reporting agency specializing in income, identity, and employment verification solutions for lenders. They are well loved within our network. They are also celebrating their 40-year anniversary, celebrating team achievements and valued clients since 1978. So super excited to have Lisa join us today. So welcome, Lisa. Good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, I'm fabulous. Thank you, Jen. You know, I was thinking that I was going to have to give a spiel on NCS, and thanks to you, I absolutely do not need to. So thank you for that fabulous introduction and all the exciting things about NCS and who we are, and especially our anniversary. We appreciate it, and we really appreciate the Mortgage Cooperative and Collaborative, and we really appreciate the partnership we have with you and Thomas and everyone there, and really appreciate what the Mortgage Collaborative brought to the industry for our independent mortgage bankers. So I'm looking forward to today, and it really is, I'm not planning on it being all about me. Actually, you know, I have some portions in the presentation where people can provide feedback and input, because I think that that's really an area where the webinars are more about speaking to people versus speaking with people and get information from them on their challenges. So I want to have plenty of time to be able to do that. Jen, one minor housekeeping item. We have our ladies from Centennial Lending that are on the call, and they're going to help us about halfway through our presentation and discuss our use case for NCS verification of employment with them. How do I get them muted, or will you unmute them for me?
I see Kelly. I see Christy. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Christy. I can unmute them whenever you're ready. So,
Great.
Yeah, go ahead and take it away.
Tanya. There's Tanya. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And attendees, thank you for being here today. I am excited about presenting to you today, and I really want to have a collaborative conversation here. So thank you. I have to tell you, I'm having some challenges today with my system, so hopefully we're going to power through. But there is a picture, so we can put a face to a name here. We can go right on by this. So really what I wanted to do today was just kind of talk to you about verifications and bring, talk about everything that we've done and where we've come from as a verification perspective, and then where we're going to. So as you probably well know, especially if you're in the industry before 2008, you know that before the crisis, verification practices were pretty limited, or they were not used at all. You know, we had a majority of our loans were stated income or no ratio loans, and we really kind of relied heavily as an industry on underwriting engines, evaluation models that really had never been stress tested. A lot of the loans that were made before the crisis, basically they allowed non-creditworthy borrowers the same access to loan parameters and credit such as creditworthy borrowers, so people who had demonstrated the ability to repay their loan. They would provide maximum LTV and DTI parameters to people who really had demonstrated that they were not very creditworthy. They would allow them to have multiple properties, and they would allow them to be non-owner occupied or investment property owners with multiple properties as well, and for first-time home buyers. So it was loan programs, loan program parameters that really kind of set up the perfect storm for the crisis. And then we go to 2008, and that's where all loans required income verification. It was very interesting, the appetite that Wall Street had for loans and their on these parameters it was such a large appetite that the industry really couldn't keep up with the appetite with the borrowers that were able to qualify. So then the loan programs were stretched to basically add more borrowers. And then after 2008, after everybody kind of came to their senses and said, whoa, we have a lot of risk out there, all loans required income verification. And it really was the tipping point was reached when one of the big five lenders out there basically said, you know what, we're going to require a 4506T to be executed on every single loan. And that really is when all the procedures came in back in place to fully require income and identity and asset verification. So just as we get there, you know, one of the things about our our presentation today, everyone, is can you bank on your best practice? And so really what I'm doing right now is laying the stage for all of us to really talk about best practices. And so after 2012, you think about what led up to the housing crisis. Well, poor practices led up to the housing crisis. So after 2012, we kind of went to the other extreme. We had every single item was picked up, and maybe we had a little bit too much documentation requirements, maybe too stringent qualifying factors. So really, there was a lot of things that tightened credit excessively for credit-worthy borrowers and non-credit-worthy borrowers. So after 2012, we kind of created a bottleneck where people were really dissatisfied with the home loan origination process. Now, while this practice, as of 2000, I don't know, 11, 10, 11, 12, the loan performance increased to the best performance ever. We also created the most labor-intensive process. So we had lots of paper and lots of borrower dissatisfaction. So for an example, I went through a refinance transaction in, I think, 2009 or 2010, not sure what year I did it. But, and I had to submit a bank statement like 5 times within a 2-week period. Just, it was just very labor-intensive, and it just created borrower dissatisfaction. So today, fast forward to today, where in 2017 was really the year of the borrower portals, if you will, the point-of-sale portals, the direct-to-borrower portals, where they can come in and they can input all of their data and upload all of their documents, So we can directly interact with the consumers to receive their information and their documents, and then they can electronically sign everything easier than ever. And then in the end of 2017 and all through 2018 so far, or the end of 2016 and then 2017 and 2018, the advent of Day One Certainty, and Freddie is coming along with their streamlined program. So we made things easier for all of us, and specifically make it easy to get the borrower's documentation. The borrower doesn't have to go up into the attic anymore and pull down their tax returns. They can just upload all their information to our systems electronically. So you would think that productivity, not just specifically from an underwriter level, but from everybody's level, that productivity would totally increase. But I'm going to show you some numbers here now that will basically give you a count of that true. So with all these advancements in technology, we have our productivity has fallen drastically. And the experts say, the next several slides are really just information about this, is that the experts say that this is caused by geography, that people are originating and underwriting loans outside their geography, outside their area of expertise. And then they also say that that's directly due to the accessibility and accuracy of documentation, and then the lack of support staff. Once again, on this slide, having to go through my system and click next. So with all the major factors of this data going into the system and being handed to us as processors and as underwriters, why is productivity so low? Another article from Rewired, and you can see, and I believe that Jen and team are going to get this to you as we wrap this up and get the recording going. We are going to give this presentation as well. These are more time thieves that basically writers in publications are talking about regarding our productivity. So dual computer screens, ad hoc calculations, lack of repeatable and standardized processes. Those are the types of things that they're saying are reducing our productivity. This last slide here is that the time to close has risen, according to Ellie Mae. And Ellie Mae probably does around, I don't know, 30 to 40% of all the loans out there in the marketplace. They would have a very good handle on what it takes to close a loan today from the time perspective. So you would think and wonder, you know, what are the things that are causing these delays? What are the things that are causing the lack of productivity? Because I'll tell you, when I was underwriting loans, let's see, it was about 25 years ago, we had to underwrite between 8 and 10 loans a day. That was our target performance objective. At one point, for that, in big boom times, we compensated for underwriting more than that, and we could get up to 20 to 25 loans a day. So when you look at these types of numbers, is it because we're doing so much better? Is it because we are doing so much more? I would really be very interested in hearing everyone's thoughts on this question. So I would like to have Jen open up the lines for just a moment, and if would, I would really appreciate input from y'all on what's causing the numbers to drop.
As a quick heads up, I am going to go ahead and unmute your line. So if you're in a noisy spot and you're on your phone, if you can mute on your end if you don't want to participate or if you're in a noisy spot, just a quick heads up there. So they are now open.
Come on, be afraid. I'm very afraid of presenting like this, and I'm doing it. So I love to hear y'all's thoughts. You guys are in the trenches every single day, and you know what's keeping you from producing the highest amount of loans that you can. Sounds like a bunch.
And you don't want to speak up over the phone either. You can drop your comments right into the chat window. That way they can stay anonymous, and you don't have to talk over the phone if you're not comfortable. But we'd love to hear what you guys have to think around this.
Oh, I did it. I do it to all.
Because appraisals are taking too long?
Well, hoping that we would.
Can somebody hear me?
I do.
Can you hear me? This is Tanya from Centennial Lending Group. So I had started to speak. I guess my line was not unmuted. But what I was saying was that the type of way we document files. So a lot of times I'll ask the borrower for what's needed. I'm pretty specific on what is requested, but then, you know, there's things that come back, whether it's all pages, sources of deposits, you know, they want to show a screenshot on their phone, you know, just different ways that people want to document their file, but there's only, you know, a limited way that we're allowed to document a file.
That's a great piece of input, Tanya. That is, it is really critical that we educate our consumers on the requirements, and that starts from the from the first time that the consumer is either accessing our website to apply or talking to our loan officers to apply. And so that makes a lot of sense, that that would add time to loan if you're constantly having to go back to the consumer to get appropriate documentation of whatever it is they're trying to document for the loan approval. Anybody else? All right, well, I certainly don't want to put y'all on the on this or anything. I want you to enjoy yourselves today, so I won't insist or hold us up any further on what you need to respond to. So banking on the new basics and what we need to understand are really when we start thinking about these types of things and creating process improvements within organization, we need to focus on everything that we do. And so I'm sure that all of you have heard about the 3 C's or the 4 C's or the 5 C's. Well, I say that you have to focus on all the C's, and that when you focus on calculations, conditions, character, compliance, consistency, collateral, credit, cash flow, controls, and capital, they're all very important items and things that you as processors and underwriters are responsible for ensuring the data quality of these items. So it's really important for you to be able to flawlessly execute on these items to be able to create return on investment, improve your processes so you can become productive. And that equates to just what Tanya brought up, was having all the right documents. I mean, what Fannie and Freddie say are the right documents, and what the consumers perceive as the right documents can be very different. And what I mean, I just took a picture of this with my phone. Well, you know, Fannie and Freddie require that it goes through a neutral third party when we do this kind of stuff. Those types of conversations are the things that you as the experts have with your borrowers and that you have with your internal and external staff. So the other thing is making sure that all the data in your internal and external systems is also your job. So that's, you know, there's a lot of things that ride on the underwriter, processor, and onboarding professional's shoulders. So you think about all of those things that you have to do, and you think of having to obtain a verification of all of those things, that's really kind of adding to the straw that broke the camel's back, because it's not only just obtaining a verification of income, a verification of IRS tax transcripts, a verification of assets. It's just obtaining those verifications. It's how you obtain them. It's the information that you receive and then subsequently verify about verifying them. So that continually adds to your workflow, and that's one of the reasons that organizations, especially organizations who do their own in-house verifications, are lowering productivity. So when you think of a company like NCS, all we do is perform verifications, tax transcripts, Social Security numbers, and verification of employment. That's all we do. So our people are focused only on verifying the information that you rely on for your information. We're focused on validating that the information is credible. We're focused on interviewing the employers. We're focused on ensuring that the IRS is responding to the mailbox accordingly. So we don't have to focus on all of these things that are listed on this slide, your calculations, your conditions, your collateral. We don't have to focus on all that. All we focus on is getting your verifications back as quickly as we possibly can and as completely as we possibly can and as consistent as we possibly can. So today, we're going to discuss the challenges, the difference and best practices of the verification process for an organization that does all the work themselves, and then what outsourcing can provide to increase quality and productivity. So we're going to go beyond the expected for you. Excuse me. First thing to do is you don't want to take any shortcuts. You want to be able to ensure that everyone in your organization is doing it the same way every single time, and that you need to focus on your income, your calculations, your assets, eligibility, UNLP conditions, making sure your data is all accurate, your data input, and documentation. So one thing that I think that Tanya brought up so well is the fact that, you know, the borrower provides all these documentations, but they don't necessarily provide the documentations that actually meet the requirements of the rule. So in the world of where you're supposed to receive these documentations already vetted by your loan officers, that's not always the case. So the practice would be to ensure that your loan officers are trained, to ensure that the borrower provides the most complete, up-to-date, and accurate documents that are required by the agency. So that's one thing that you need to do to be able to assess those forms for quality, consistency, and accuracy. So that's just one thing that I would say to my sales management staff is I would conduct training in areas to say, you know, when you say a pay stub, you know, we need to make a copy of it. And I would think that everybody on this phone call would agree that a picture of a pay stub would probably work. But a picture off a computer screen of a bank statement would not. So those are the types of things that, you know, is really up to trainers to ensure that your entire organization understands the needs for the completed verification documents and the independency of those documents. So when you conduct verifications in-house, you are expected to manage that entire fulfillment through the entire process. And really, that's not something that's in your toolbox. Whereas an organization who does it for a living is in their toolbox. It's their job. Your job is to underwrite and document quality loans for sale on the secondary market or for sale to the agencies. So I think that you'll hear that that's kind of what I'm creating here is an understanding of the environment where tasks get completed and turned to you versus an environment where you're expected to do a task that's really outside of your description. It's really outside understanding and creating the loan origination practice. So the other thing that I'd like to say is that you really don't have a toolbox for this process. Specifically, IRS income verifications, SSA verifications, and verifications of employment. You know, the LOS platforms that you all use today are all very well connected to independent third-party providers, but very few of them have any connection to where you could do it yourself. That would provide you with a template for doing this same process over and over again. There really is a reason as to why Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac require these processes to be done by an independent third party as opposed to having them being done for day one certainty specifically in-house. So once again, here's some focus that really probably you do every day, but it really isn't understood that this is a primary focus that makes your organization money. And that's working closely with the home buyer or the borrower, understanding the loan, the income type, the customer. So as I said previously, most people are focused on nothing but creating those verifications, validating that information. Whereas y'all have to really understand the loan parameters, understanding the guidelines for those loan parameters, and then understanding all the qualifying parameters and documentation requirements the consumer needs to make those loans, and add in the appraisal report. I mean, thousands of fields are on the appraisal report, and then add the UCDP report that you have to realize, and then working with loan officers and wholesale agents and correspondents. You know, those are the practices that really make your organization's money, and they bring you information to the table. So what I would like to do now is bring on a couple of friends from Centennial Lending Group. I've got Christy Ailing, and I've got Tanya Kiro, and they are both users of products at NCS, and I'd just like to interview them a little bit for y'all, and they can tell you their stories and use cases for themselves. So welcome, Christy, and welcome, Tanya.
Thank you.
All right. So, Christy, I'm gonna put all the questions I have on the screen. The first thing, and for both of you, I'm not going to say who's going to speak or anything. Y'all just feel free to work this out among yourselves. But for Centennial Lending Group, what was your biggest challenge for in-house and even outsourced VOEs?
Well, for in-house, can you hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Okay. For in-house, it was pretty much just chasing down. I mean, the first obstacle was figuring out, you call, you need HR payroll, you get transferred, voicemails. It becomes, even though it's not, the task itself is not so daunting, it's getting the form the right person, tracking it down, leaving voicemails, waiting for this person to call back, losing time, somebody's on vacation. So it really just getting it down to get it done was very time consuming.
Wonderful. Tanya, do you have in on that one?
Tanya.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
I think Christy is muted.
Okay.
I've unmuted you, Christy.
Your own line. All the time.
I just had an issue with my Skype.
Let's see. Steve, can you hear us? All right. Maybe we'll figure it out, and like Christy can join us. I do have more questions, so we'll just go on with those. And the next one is, Tanya, have y'all ever experienced delayed closings or even losing locks due to the verification of employment process?
I mean, not so often, but yes, it has happened, and it's just a matter of whether, waiting either till, not having enough time to get a verbal done, maybe waited the process or waited till, closer to closing and then didn't realize it would be such a hard task to get in with somebody, and it has happened. I mean, it's not something that happens often, but it has happened that we had to postpone a closing because of not getting a verbal with a certain, with the right timeline.
It really is. It's not about the 80-90% that can just pick up the phone and do your Google search and then pick up the phone and get it, all the way through very quickly. It is the 10 to 15% of the oddballs, if you will, that really cause you the biggest challenge, right, Tanya?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that you referenced that before, is that they just eat up time, they eat resources, and I mean, I think that recently I had a couple of new verifiers from the Centennial team that it was just challenging that some of the fails. I mean, right out the gate, here they're brand new at this process, and they get some of these challenging processes where a dentist has just been out of school for a year, and he's like interned at 15 different organizations, and we're trying to verify them and have the information on the loan application. So I think that it's really a challenging process that you kind of learn by walking through the fire. Is that probably an accurate statement, Tanya?
Exactly. The building fire.
Exactly. So internally at Centennial, how do you, on your systems, before you came to NCS, because we'll talk about that as well, but before you came to NCS, how did you guys monitor the VOE status according to the loan, along with the loan status?
There's a tracking screen within the system that we use. It's the order date and the receive date. So that's something that we would, but it would really have to be, notes in addition to that.
Right. Yeah, that's so, like, things that, so let's talk about the monitoring aspect of the orders at NCS. How do you guys deal with that?
So really, when we need a verification of employment, once the loan is approved, we're asking for that right away. I haven't really come across any issues where I didn't have. So by the time I'm going back into the loan to follow up, you guys are well within your turn time. So these items will already be back. So I don't really, it's ordering it from the time that it approves to the time that I need to re-review to follow up on things. I would say almost all of the time the verifications are already back and already completed, so I just need to upload them into the file, and I can just put my date received into my tracking and move on with the rest of my conditions.
That's great. How do you communicate, if necessary? How do you communicate with the NCS processing staff?
So I usually go right into the website and I click on the I think there's like a little icon that you can click on just to communicate on that particular verification of employment, and I'll just put in whatever I'm looking for, whatever I need, and handle it from there. And if I needed multiple, which I don't really remember having to need that, I just know that another way of communicating would be through the support email.
It's pretty much through emails and messaging through the application that you can let us know. And I mean, it works both ways. We can go back to Tanya and team, and we can say, hey, you know what, we've got a issue with this employer. That employer doesn't exist anymore. Do you want to go back to the borrower and get more information? And so we can work with them directly through our application that automatically notifies them they have a message from us. So one thing that I always find that everybody is so interested in is about the third-party providers. Now, at NCS, at this point in time, we don't handle the work number, but we do handle all the other third-party providers. So, Tanya, if you could give me an example of how you guys manage third-party providers for VOEs before NCS and then how it's done today, I'd appreciate it.
So before, we'd have to email somebody, do you have a username and password for InVerify or NJ, whatever it may be, and then we'd have to get the credit card information and, a new account, sometimes it was a duplicate account. So it's just, the only thing we work with directly would be the work number, and any other verification provider, we just go straight to NCS and you guys handle it from there, and it comes back without any issue.
You. I think that really the last question I have for Tanya is, I think we've probably been iterating it as we've gone through this interview. It is really, what's your level of satisfaction with the NCS VOE?
Well, I'm very satisfied. I love it because I get to continue working. I just get to upload what I need, and I do a time of approval, and it pretty much, I don't have to think about it until I come back and I have to calculate the income. So it really is just beyond words to say how someone can work simultaneously on a loan with you and not be, part of it just comes back and it's done. It's just, it's like, it's very helpful, especially with turn time so little.
Well, thank you. So just for everyone else on the call, Tanya is a senior professor with a Centennial. How long have you been with Centennial, Tanya?
A year I've been here.
Yeah, good. Well, Centennial Lending Group was the winner of the Philadelphia Corporate Culture Award in 2017. They're also a top mortgage employer with the National Mortgage Professional for 2018 and 2017, and the five-star mortgage professional organization for 5 consecutive years. And then Susan Mintner is on the board for Mortgage Collaborative. And what's the name of her book, Tanya? Is it The Lucky?
Crazy Lucky Girl.
My desk. Crazy Lucky Girl.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to look up that information, Centennial Lending Group is a supreme example of an independent mortgage banker.
That's what it is.
There you go. Thank you, Tanya, for interviewing with us today. I really appreciate it, and so we'll just keep moving on. And thank you once again.
No problem. Thank you.
So when we move on and we start talking about some of the things that an organization needs to do in-house verifications, I just thought I'd put together a slide for that to give you hints and tips on everything that you absolutely do need. And I think that Tanya spoke to all of this very well. She can keep on working and doing her job and the things that make her outstanding at her job for her organization, because she can leave her verifications in our very capable hands, because that is our job. But so in an organization, to be successful at in-house verifications, you really need a lot of tools to be successful at those verifications. It goes way beyond putting the task in your LOS and then putting a date order, a date started and a date ended task and uploading a piece of paper. It goes into reporting. You need to know how many VOEs you're doing. You need to know the turn time on those VOEs, and you need to know the success rate of the VOEs. You also need tools that are research tools. So, and this goes beyond Google. And the reason I tell you to go beyond Google is because I don't know if any of you have received it, but I received 2 fraud updates from Fannie Mae over the past 60 days regarding fraudulent employers in Northern California and Southern California. Well, in your organization, how are you handling that list of employers? There's about 45 of them. My CEO, Curtis Anuth, yesterday wrote his blog, and that'll be posted shortly. And in the blog, he came across an organization called Career Excuse, and there were even YouTube interviews with the guy who owns this company called Career Excuse that is basically fake job references. I listened to the YouTube that this guy did for Al Jazeera, and he basically says he has 40 virtual companies. So these organizations have websites, they have a telephone number, they have an email that will verify your employment for you. So, and it's fake. It's all fake. So a couple of things that they're called is careerexcuse.com is one of them. The reference store is the other one. And fake job references is another one. There's even some Yelps on Google. Just go ahead and Google career excuse. I wouldn't recommend you go to their site because you get an alert on their site that it's not safe. But Google it and you'll see all the results of. There's even people that rated them on Yelp. It is. These are things that you need to manage your fraud and misrepresentation. We got to keep moving here. The other thing is logging. You know how many calls you receive. You also need to be able to contact the right person at that employer. You need to be able to send them forms to complete and receive those forms. And then I think that, Tanya also brought up the third parties. Call somebody and ask for their username and password. Well, at NCS, we have what's known as the VOE Upload and Go. That is really just forget about it, because we just want you to send us your paper. We will input your data, and we will work and verify that it's done, probably even before you think about it again. So ILS is in New Jersey, so there's a reason why we did a forget about it slide. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties here, trying to get to my next slide. So the benefits of our Upload and Go program. You simply upload your 1003 and your borrower authorization, and we take care of everything else. You'll receive email status notifications. You see the evidence of the work that we do, and we'll get a breakdown of your timing of when your reports will be ready. And our UI facilitates messaging between processors when you need to let us know something or we're asking you something. And our report will contain red flag notification, and so you can easily measure service levels, quality, and completeness. And the data that we give you is actionable. So the other piece, is really, and I think I've probably said this several times before, is that, it's really what matters most to your organization is your focus on the specific loan tasks that are all about underwriting and processing loans, understanding guidelines, understanding requirements for documentation, and our focus is really outsourcing, focuses on just getting the job done, getting it done in a manner that will leave you completely covered with the information that you've received. So what you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. And I think that really is very pertinent for your jobs. One thing that I do want you to see is how much time you are actually spending on a VOE if you're doing them in-house. And that really is an average. So on average, every VOE takes around 20 minutes. And this calculator is right here on our website. So just a Calc PH1. And this is really all about, it takes 233 hours a month to process 700 VOEs. That's if you close 400 loans a month. That is 75% of your files probably have more borrowers who contribute qualifying income to that loan, as opposed to an organization who closes 400 loans a month, we use Upload and Go with NCS outsource mechanism. They spend 58 hours on it, and that's 5 minutes. Reach this calculator at our site so you can input your numbers. Example of our VOE services report that we will be implementing with our new platform as soon as it goes live here in a couple months. And so we're going to have flags. We're going to have, these will change to red and yellow and green as we get the data verified. You can see that your business will be verified through subscription and public resources. And we will show you the red flags and notes that we get back from employer. So not only will you get this report, so you have an at-a-glance capability, you will also get the report that the employer sends to us, the handwritten form. And more improvements coming on it every day. We will have a portal where employers can upload their forms and directly, so that will hopefully get us more and more speed as it pertains to getting your verifications completed. And here's my last thing I'm going to leave you with is every day is a bank account and time is our currency, and really in your world your time is best spent on those mortgage related tasks. I'd like to thank Tanya for just opening up about the Centennial process today, and Christy for joining us as well, and Jen and the Mortgage Collaborative. I really appreciate your time today. I think we have time to open it up for any questions if anybody has any, and with that all said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jen, and we will go from there.
Sounds great. Lisa, thank you so much once more for facilitating the discussion. And thanks to our friends over at Centennial Lending Group for joining in. Christy, I am going to unmute your line if you do want to say anything. So you be unmuted. And as a quick reminder to everyone, we can accept any questions or comments or feedback that you have. You can drop them right into the chat window or through the Q&A box, and we will happy to verbalize on your behalf. But I want to thank you once more for your continued partnership, Lisa. If you're going to be at our conference in Chicago next week, you can schedule some time to meet with Jeff Gentry. He'll be there at our summer conference at the Four Seasons in Chicago. After today's webinar, I'm going to send over a link where you can schedule some time to meet with online. But yeah, I will kind of see if we have any questions coming in. Close on the end of the hour. We haven't seen any questions come in the meantime, so I don't want to take too much time of everyone's day. I know they're probably getting ready for the next thing, or they're 3 o'clock. So thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
And my contact information is also on the beginning of the presentation. So if anybody has any questions, they can also send them over to me. I really appreciate the Mortgage Collaborative letting us speak on behalf of verification today. And once again, thanks to Christy and Tanya for being here as well.
Absolutely. It shows you how collaborative we are here at TMC. So
there you
everyone
go.
Have a wonderful afternoon. Hopefully
all right, you too.
In Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.